Deadly Grounds Coffee knows how important your coffee is to you. Every batch is roasted to perfection with a unique special method that brings out the richest, deepest, smoothest flavor you'll ever find. We're coffee freaks too, and deadly serious about our brew. Just one sip and you'll know why we say, once you go deadly, you don't go back. It's truly coffee to die for. So when you're ready to get a little deadly, get online and order yours at getdeadly.com. It's coffee so good, it's scary.
Greetings and welcome once again to another episode of the Retro Redoctopus Cephala podcast. That's the only show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome. We are part of the Dorkening and Inebriart podcast networks, and as always, we are brought to you tonight by Deadly Grounds Coffee, coffee to die for. I am your host of the moment. My name is Parasite Steve, aka Steve Van Samson, aka Steve of Destruction, though nobody calls me that. And with me tonight is my 8-bit buddy, sometimes we call him Mr. Alchemy.
Sometimes we do call that. Sometimes we're like, Mr. Alchemy's my dad, but then other times we're like, nah, it's me. So hi.
Yeah. And it also it brings up the opportunity to go, for you to go, they call me Mr. Mr. Alchemy. Mr. Alchemy.
Oh, I thought I was being Pumbaa now.
No, that was a different show.
Well, there's also those who call me Tim. There's a lot of ways that could have gone.
I wasn't clear.
It's not like
it's my fault. I
apologize. It was a multiple choice question. I chose C. You were hoping I was going to choose A. Sorry.
That's okay. You're doing great. You're doing great. It doesn't matter.
Thanks. I feel great. It's great to be here.
Well, of course it feels great because you're not downstairs locked in the Brig.
Damn right. I'm on the poop deck.
But you know who is? I'll tell you.
Tell me.
This particular week, we actually have a talented New York-based comedian and writer, the man who built the media empire known as Dumb Industries with nothing but a dream, some barbed wire, and his mitts. With Dumb Industries, he's the producer of quality web-based programming. You know what? I'm just going to go back and say entertainment, such as the Mary Jo Pehl Show, the Dumb Industries Mystery Hour, and the hilarious monthly live riffing show, The Mads Are Back. Ladies and gentlemen, down in the Brig, it's Chris Gersbeck. Hey, welcome to the show, Chris.
Hey guys, thanks so much for throwing me down here and listing all my credits. That was really nice. I felt good. I appreciate it.
I feel make sure that our prisoners feel appreciated, but also know that they are prisoners.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, if you guys were just like, yeah, this guy's down here, I would be just a little pissed off. But
there's
you've done your research. So.
There's a man with a hat.
Yeah,
there's a beard as well. There's a hat and a beard. Mm-hmm. I do want to say, Chris, I know it's kind of messy down there in the Brig. Mm-hmm. Now, okay, just so you know, this is your first time here, so I'll tell you the mildewy death smell, that's actually supposed to be there. But I have to explain all the VHS tapes. All right, all right, you're not going to believe this, but
I was going through them. I have to compliment you on the collection. It's quite good.
Well, the funny thing is they're not even ours.
We can't take
they're not even ours. Not even half an hour ago, this frigging portal opened up, and apparently it went directly to the dumpster behind the last Blockbuster, and they all just kind of fell through.
With that dumpster.
Yes. So you may be rifling through things you've already previously rifled through.
Yes.
So just
few things I've recognized. Yeah, but. I don't see a VCR down here though, so I don't know what good they're going to do.
Right, because there was no planning. Yep. It was.
It also works
completely out of nowhere
for the torture. To be like, oh, there's all these wonderfully horrible VHS tapes that I could watch.
Right.
but I just have to look at the tape, you know?
Yeah.
Right. Really, it's like, oh my God. Like, oh my God, they have, on the floor is Bleeders starring Rutger Hauer with the actual blood like cover that you can mush around with your thumb. And I don't even have a VCR to play it. Like, what am I supposed to do? It's torture.
I just move the blood around.
It's like that Twilight Zone where the world ends and the guy's happy because he can read, and then his glasses break.
Exactly.
Yes. Time Enough at Last, starring Burgess Meredith. One of the 3 Burgess Meredith episodes. I feel like it's the second best. I feel like it's the Obsolete Man is the number 1 for me. But anyway.
Obsolete, yeah, good one.
Oh my God, that one is as poignant as that show got. But that's enough about that. So first, let me just say, welcome to the show. We appreciate you being here.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So my wife and I, just so you know, we'll start with this. My wife and I are actually really big fans of The Mads Are Back, and we've caught many episodes over the last couple of years. And I gotta say, and I'm being completely serious here, like it really helped us get through the pandemic. Because
I love hearing that. That's the best. Yeah.
It's 100% true, because there was nothing we could do. There were no, you couldn't go to the movies. You couldn't go to like jack shit. So, oh, by the way, you can swear. So so it was like you had to create events. Like sometimes on Friday nights, we would, go into the basement on the TV we don't usually use. And that was like a special movie night. Like we'll just, you got to like create like things that are not a big deal that become big deals because there's just nothing you can do. And with The Mads Are Back being on like a random day of the week, it's like Tuesday. It was really, really fun to look forward to.
Yeah. I mean, it goes both ways, because I don't know what the hell I would have done had I not been working on these kinds of shows. Like, had Frank not reached out to me and said like, hey, do you think we can do this thing online? Like, I might have lost my mind during the pandemic. And then, so it goes both ways. Absolutely. But I love hearing that it helped people, especially like, I think back to like those early months of the pandemic, and like we started doing the show, I think in July, but we'd been planning it for like months leading up to that. And, I still have like a lot of like those like early pandemic memories are like still like seared in my brain. Like there's like those feelings of like uncertainty and like and fear and stuff. It's all like, it's like tattooed in my brain. But I just absolutely love hearing that it's been like a source of comfort to people while they were trapped in their homes. So I appreciate that.
Gives a dose of like, normalcy and some kind of like, hope in a bleak time, and not like in a way that feels like world changing. It's just fun, know? And like that was really easy to forget about, was just, good old fashioned fun. And like, that's a huge thing that you need to remember in like a time that's really rough like that. Right. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think it
impacted a lot of people.
I think like the communal aspect of it too, just everyone watching these things in real time together has been like a big part of it. Like the community's like really grown just from like these monthly shows, and then that like grew into then the Mary Jo Pehl show and like all these other things. But that's all just because I think people love experiencing these kinds of things together, and there's really no kind of better way to do that than to like be able to like chat with people in real time during a show like that. So we were like very lucky that this kind of show translated to an online format so well, because like in the world of stand-up, like stand-up just kind of collapsed during the pandemic, because it's not the same experience. Someone doing stand up on a Zoom show is like just not the same as going to a club and seeing it.
Exactly. I mean, you even heard like Stephen Colbert being like, "Yeah, I've just been delivering these jokes to a screen, and I have no idea what's landing." And it's like, these are some of the biggest guys in the business feeling this pressure, let alone everybody else who's out there trying to do the same thing. It's like, you have no feedback. You can't read the room when you're the only one in it.
Right. I think Trace and Frank actually, they still worry about that because they're not getting any feedback. They never look at the chat. They always say they don't want to look at the chat because they don't want to be like influenced by anyway. And they also think that their fans are probably funnier than them. So they like ignore the chat completely. And yeah, it's oh god, I just lost my train of thought. Sorry.
It's like
left the station. It happens all the time, you know.
Yeah, it's a new skill set though to have to cultivate, to be able to stay witty and make jokes and not worry about if they landed or not, because it's like, I don't know, man. It's like as good as a tweet in the night. Like if nobody sees it, whatever. But like you said it and it's out there.
I think that's why I think the goal for both Trace and Frank is to make the other one laugh, because then it's like, oh, I earned their laugh. Yeah. And so like that joke was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's tough for them. I mean, it's enjoyable for all of us, but I think they're like, is this stuff landing? And I tell them every time, I'm like, yes, like you guys are
funny
on fire. Like you're killing it.
Yeah, that is really interesting. You know, I didn't think of that, but that actually describes the band that the two of us used to be in. We pretty much, nobody else gave a crap, so we're like, well, do you like it?
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, we like our own band.
Do you like this riff? And they're like, yeah.
I like the smell of my own farts. Yeah, let's keep doing
it. But so if they're just trying to make each other laugh, that's really great. And of course, whenever the other one snickers, like that is one of the best parts, just overall.
Yeah, yeah. When they break each other, it's so good.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah. And so before we get too far into this, for those who are listening tonight on our show and don't actually know what we're talking about, so The Mads Are Back is a web show you produce. Dumb Industries is your company. And these are Trace and Frank. It's Trace Beaulieu and Frank Conniff, the original mad scientists. Well, not the original, but the more famous, the Mads from Mystery Science Theater 3000, Dr. Forrester, and of course,
classic Mads.
The classic Mads. And of course, not counting Mr. J. Elvis Weinstein, who of course was the original, but so in TV's Frank, Forrester and TV's Frank, I mean, they're just the dream team as far as I'm concerned. So and you have them and you guys pick a movie and then you do like a pre-show and you're on there and Trace and Frank are on there and sometimes you have a guest and you do a little chat and then you get into the movie and the video becomes just the movie. So if people are thinking like, oh, Mystery Science Theater, well, it's not Mystery Science Theater, it's The Mads Are Back. It's just similar. So, just like riff tracks or something like that, you're just hearing the voices and they're not playing characters, they're just themselves, but they are riffing in the exact same way and stuff like that. And I'm like really excited to know like the genesis of this and like what your process is. But before we get to that, at least like, okay, little bookkeeping. That's what we're talking about for those
of you out there who just blindly listen to our episodes. Don't care the subject matter at all. We're really
You're like, I just tuned in for a guy wearing a hat. I just like hats. You put that in the title, Steve. I don't know why you did that. So I want to go back. So Chris, on the Dumb Industries About Us page, which I read today extensively.
Oh, nice.
It mentions that in 2015 you did some work for MTV, and you mentioned The State, of which I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I didn't work with MTV when at the very beginning of the pandemic. This cat won't leave me alone now that she's here. At the beginning of the pandemic, I had been working with this podcast, Risk, which is a storytelling show. It was live in New York City, and they did tours and stuff. It's hosted by Kevin Allison, who's one of the members of MTV's The State, which is like the sketch show in the 90s.
Yeah, love The State. Yeah.
So when the pandemic happened, The State wanted to do like an online reunion type of thing, and Kevin recommended me to do the publicity for that show. So I got to meet all the guys in The State, and I mean all online and everything. But that was super surreal as someone who like grew up loving those guys. I mean, it was already weird that I was like working with one of them, and then like to get to meet all of them, it was insane. Cool. But yeah, no, I never worked at MTV. I should update that. Maybe it's too confusing because I feel like the state is not recognizable unless you put like MTV's The State in front of it.
Well, yeah, it's too general of a title.
Yeah.
So,
No.
but okay, well, that's cool. That's still really cool. Yeah, I mean, so you did promotion stuff.
Yeah, I started in stand up in 2015, but like I very quickly got into producing, and I started just doing that more and more. Then like I kind of stepped back from producing to focus, or step back from stand up to do more production type stuff. Like I just liked the behind the scenes work more, and I felt like, you know, like my talents were better suited for that. So I started doing more and more of that. And with that just comes like, you have to publicize your shows. You have to reach out to press. You have to make people want to come out to your events, which is in New York City extremely hard to do. And there's just so much
incredibly competitive, right?
Yeah. So there's just so much stuff going on, and everyone's scattered throughout the entire city. Like every borough's got like its own weird little scene and everything. But like, I got pretty good at just getting like local press and getting people to come out to shows and everything. And so then I was working at this comedy club, QED. I was running the door there while also like hosting and producing shows there.
Cool.
And once I started getting more and more like press and stuff, I was like, oh, maybe I can like offer my services to other like comedians and podcasters and stuff in New York City. And then like quickly, like that started becoming more and more my full-time job. So like I just kind of went like full-time into that eventually. Then the pandemic happened and like everything completely changed. But but yeah, like my goal pre-pandemic was just to like, you know, produce live comedy and like maybe get somehow like start working in TV. And then, you know, like my goal was never to get into live streaming or to, you know, like try to make a living from doing things online. It just kind of happened that way.
So at that point, there was no inkling for a Dumb Industries or anything like that. That came.
No,
later.
I mean, yeah, like I use the name Dumb, like just as like a logo to put on my the shows that I was doing live. So like, and like I had like a weekly newsletter that I would like send out to people, and then, but it was like, you know, pre-pandemic, I had maybe like 500 people on that newsletter, and now it's like 10,000 or something. And that's just because of the online growth and people buying tickets like every month. And so yeah, it really went from like pretty much nothing to something like that's pretty much overnight. It was exciting.
Awesome. That is exciting. And as you know, a fan of Mystery Science Theater, I can say that, you know, our brand, us Misties, are like diehards. You know, we're starved at all time. And it's funny because there are so many factions of that original crew that have gone on to do stuff over the years. And obviously Cinematic Titanic was a thing that existed that doesn't exist anymore. But, you know, I did get to see one of their live shows, which was awesome. It was the Wasp Woman, because I know you're wondering.
Yeah, nice. We were just talking about that on the Darkstar event we did, because I guess Roger Corman tried to sue them over that one.
That is the one I wanted to see. I mean, you don't have a choice. They're going to play whatever movie they're going to play. Obviously, you just go see it. But I literally wanted, I could not believe that they were playing the Wasp Woman. I literally was beside myself. But that was really, really fun. And of course, Frank and Trace were there, and Joel was there and stuff. And then, you know, the Riff Tracks guys are doing their thing, and Mike and Kevin and Bill, Bill, and so like it's technically like a good time to be a fan, but this is, I think, I gotta say, this is like my favorite faction of it all, because
mine too.
I bet. And it's going to sound like I'm just blowing smoke, but like, dude, like we never got to hear Frank riff.
Yeah. I know that's a big thing for me. Like, as someone who like grew up watching the show, is, you know, you knew who Frank was and you knew he was a writer, but it was like you never actually
got to hear him do it.
Yeah. Except for like one or two times he was like in the theater, but yeah, it's hearing him, and he's just got such a unique voice just in his writing and just his delivery that he could say anything and it just makes me crack up. And it is truly great hearing him get to riff. But then it's like funny every now and then Trace just like slips into Crow, like without even like, it's like, oh shit,
right,
like, listening to Crow right now.
Right, totally. You forget for a sec that he's not doing a character.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, that for me is the greatest part of it, and it's the two of them together. So you get the Mads, like it is
the chemistry between them is, you know, they both have such a similar they have very similar points of reference, but they also they work off each other so well. Just the chemistry between them, they're just one of the great, you know, comic duos.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, I mean, you go back to those old episodes, and you know, as much as I love Mary Jo, I mean, it's just Forrester and Frank were just it's unfair. They were just unbeatable. They were just the best part of some episodes are just them.
Oh yeah.
And there are certain episodes where, you know, my friends and I would, you know, because back in the day they had the Rhino put out the VHS tapes. There might be a Pod People on the ground by you. I don't know if you want to look for it, but those were like, you know, the episodes you could buy. It was just a few. It was, you know,
I know.
A handful.
I remember
so I would watch.
We had Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, which
sure.
is a great one, but it's like you can only watch it so many times before you want to.
See, I had
melting up.
I had ones that we watched 1,000 times because it's like
Pod People definitely.
Pod People, Ega, Mitchell.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Mitchell. I mean, Rhino really truly had some of the best.
They picked so good
and
ones.
they had some terrible episodes too that were just like, why did they bother with Red Zone Cuba? But like, but you know, it's fine. But like they, you know, were just that's how it was. And so sometimes I would find myself and my friends, we were like, we're quoting the episode, but we're quoting them. We're just quoting the Mads, you know, like from different, like, you know, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a funny thing. I don't know. I can't really think of
I don't know if this is happening to you guys, but like, you know, as a kid, I've just, you know, we didn't have DVR or anything. Like you just like watch the episode or like as a taped or whatever.
Right.
And like the, you know, the sketches in between or whatever, as a kid, I was kind of like, yeah, like get to the movies though. Like I didn't really like appreciate them now. And like now when I go back and watch those episodes, like Trace and Frank are just so absolutely hilarious. I don't know if it's just because I've gotten to like know them better or just become more familiar with like their brand of humor and like what they were going for in those 90s episodes. Right. But like I find the sketches like super hilarious now.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think like when I was first getting introduced to MST3K, you know, from Steve, it was just, I liked watching the movies and stuff like that, and I liked the skits, but it did feel like it was just kind of like interrupting, and I don't know. I definitely feel like now, like the skits are some of my favorite things, and like some of the things I quote the most of like any of this stuff, you know. Yeah. Like, oh, is it a box of Hamdingers? You know, oh man, check there. Like all the kind of just dumb stuff that they do. It's like I'm like I don't even remember sometimes what episode certain skits were from.
Oh right, I know that.
They
that
just
happens.
exist in their own ethos, like their own cosmos, and I'm like, right. I have no idea what one that was.
Like the one where like Forrester just decides out of nowhere to replace all of Frank's blood with antifreeze, and he's like, well, and that's going to cause him to overheat, so you know I installed a radiator, and Frank's like just there, and he's just like
right, like dead.
And he's like, kill me, and like I don't remember what episode that even is, but I adore that whole segment.
The Monos sketches too for me, that final one with Mike Nelson playing Torgo. He just does that role so hilariously, but it's also just the play between Forrester and Frank. Like Forrester looks at Frank to like pay the guy, and he's like, I don't know anymore.
Right, like, on me. Like, what do you want from me?
They're just they're so great.
They're so great. So Absolutely. So thank you for bringing them back together and to us. And on that note,
Yeah.
so talk about the genesis of how this show came about. So you said earlier, Frank was actually the one who reached out for you. So that tells me that you knew them previously. So how did this whole thing get started?
I met Frank at that club that I mentioned earlier, QED, because it had opened in my neighborhood in Astoria, Queens, around 2014. And that's like when I got, I started doing stand-up, like started doing open mics there a lot. And Frank was just producing a show there. He's like one of the first shows to get booked there.
Wow.
It was Frank Conniff's Cartoon Dump, which was a show I believe he did out in LA when he lived in LA. He had like just moved back to New York City, like either that year or like the year before or something. So he was kind of like getting his groove back in the New York City comedy scene. He was hosting a show, and I was just like shocked that he was just like hosting a show in my neighborhood, and I could just like pay $5 and go see Frank Conniff riff on cartoons.
That would be amazing.
But I just started hanging out there more and more, and then because I was working at the club, he needed help with like tech assistance, like playing his shorts on the projector and stuff like that. So he and I just worked together a lot on that, and then I started producing a show called Movies Are Dumb, which was just like a live riffing show. So we, just play pretty much like the first show we did was The Room, but we also did, like Birdemic. It was pretty much just like the riff tracks, MST greatest hits. And we just had like 4 comedians, in the front with mics and riffing on it. It was like really it was a really popular show, and it was really fun to do. And Frank, he was touring with Trace at the time, but he was just like, yeah, like whenever I'm in town, I'll come do the show. He's like, and we never made any money from it or anything. He just liked, I think for him, it was just like practice. Like, I'll just go and,
right.
just riff on some movies.
Right. Why not?
And then eventually Frank asked me to do this he had this idea for a show. He's like, what if we did like an open mic, but people would go up and like riff for 5 minutes. And maybe we like make it like a competition, like we have judges and they choose the best riffer. And I was like, yeah, I think we can do something like that.
Oh, that sounds phenomenally fun.
Yeah. So I started producing that for him, and I started getting like these short, like 5-minute clips that were just like perfect for riffing. And it was great. We'd have like, you'd think something like that, you would attract mostly other comedians, like stand-ups and stuff. But like for the most part, I almost spilled a big glass of water. For the most part, it was like just
pretty dirty.
Yeah, it was just like MST fans who would come and riff, and like they were like the funniest people. It wasn't like the comedians who were hanging out at the comedy club. It was like just like the fans going up there and like just having such a good understanding of like riffing, and it was just like amazing to see. And you'd have like 40 people come, and like, we do like groups of 3, and it was just so much fun just watching people riff.
Yeah, it's almost like, getting up there on doing karaoke or something like.
Yeah.
But it's just same kind of idea. You're like bearing your soul open mic night or something, but you're riffing. I've never heard of anything like that.
That's so
amazing.
Fun. Yeah,
it was
awesome
really it was such a
awesome
great
idea.
Concept, and
yeah,
it was awesome. But then the pandemic happened. It was just like there was no way to
continue.
Really, I mean, we could have figured out a way to do that, but just like logistically, it's like this is going to be hard to do.
Yeah.
So like we just, like everyone, it was just like everyone's shows just got canceled. So we were, just not doing it anymore. But then it was like May of 2020, and Frank emailed me and was like, hey, Trace and I are thinking of trying to do the show online somehow. Do you know any way we can do that? And I was like, no, I don't. I have no idea how how we could do that. Because I'm good at live streaming before. Like I'm good at like tech stuff and like figuring stuff out, but like a live stream was not anything that it was like not in my wheelhouse at all. So it was just like a couple months of trying out like StreamYard and Zoom and like just trying to learn how to do this. And then we finally figured out a way to do it on Zoom that wasn't terrible. And then from then on, it was like,
that's really what we're looking for here. Cause like none of it's awesome.
Yeah.
We're not looking
tried a
for
few things
good.
ourselves, and it's like, God, nothing feels amazing. But
It was
as long as it's not terrible.
those early days were like hard though, because like I think
Yeah.
everyone was also at the very same time everyone was like trying to figure this shit out. So
Yeah.
but it was like I think when we first tried StreamYard, we put the movie on and Trace and Frank were just getting the movie at like 15-second differentiation.
Like
so it was
chunks.
they were all their riffs were just totally off. It wasn't fun. It was like distracting. And like when that happened, I was like, I don't know if this is going to be doable. Like I don't think it's going to be doable the way that they want to do it. But I just like kept testing things and upgraded my internet and all this stuff. And we finally it worked. And we were like really lucky that, that they already had like this amazing built-in fan base who were just like dying to see them live.
Yeah.
Like it was like the perfect time, obviously, to like launch something like that. So, but yeah, I mean, that's how it all happened. Really,
That's really interesting.
It's all just Frank.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I mean, like we experienced something similar. Like, we did the show. We used to record in a studio all together. And I think that there is something very valuable about being in the same room.
Yeah.
And I do to this day miss that. I think that it was probably more fun when we were all in the same room. But during that year, it's like, well, what are we going to do? Are we going to stop?
Yeah.
Because this is our 5th year doing the show now. And that was our 2nd year.
Right.
I think, right?
Yeah,
So,
no, it's I guess that exactly like
by the seat of our pants and be like
pre-pandemic, I would have like always preferred to have heard a podcast where like, all the people were in the same room because it just it feels like it's like a different energy.
It is.
Now
totally different.
Yeah, but like now I feel like it's totally acceptable to like just do a podcast this way. And it's actually, I mean, it's safer. And a lot of times it like can sound a lot better just because everyone's like isolated.
It's true. Yeah. Everybody has to just take care of their own shit. Buy a better mic. Come on.
Right. Get a better mic, upgrade your stuff. Yeah. And it's different, cause like podcasting is kind of one thing, but I feel like I always think about it when like voice actors or voice acting is done in a vacuum and you find out from people that it's like, oh yeah, we never interacted in the studio. It's like, wow, sometimes people hide it well, but sometimes like a lot of times you can totally tell.
Oh yeah.
There's just no cohesion between the deliveries of these different people and stuff like that. And you're like, oh yeah, these were all just kind of done one at a time. And
I think that's something that I've picked up on like later seasons of The Simpsons. It's like, Harry Shearer was clearly like in a closet studio somewhere recording all these lines, like But like those early episodes, they actually would like all like record, in a studio together. That it just doesn't make sense to do that anymore. But yeah, you do lose that.
Yeah,
that
I think you definitely lose something there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we learned that we lost Kevin Conroy last year at the end of last year.
Yeah,
and all of those actors, all the Bruce Timm Justice League verse, all those guys, or just even Batman the Animated Series, they were coming out of the woodwork telling stories after he passed. And it's like, they Mark Hamill's like, no, like we were all in this random studio in freaking Nevada or something, like just in the middle of the desert, and we were just all there together, and it's like the camaraderie is just apparent.
People pick up on that,
sure. It's that energy that the other actor gives you back. And you hear so many actors always saying that about how chemistry is so important in movies and all this stuff. It's like, that's a really good point, Tim, with the cartoons and stuff like that. You can really hear it when it's not there.
Oh yeah.
But if you guys were, not able to do it this way, like Trace doesn't live in New York, right?
No.
So
he's in Minnesota. Yeah.
Minnesota.
Like
So I mean, like,
exactly. Yeah. And he doesn't seem like he wants. I mean, they both want to get back out on the road, but it's still not completely safe out there. So I think they're like extra cautious about that stuff. But it hasn't. We've still been able to do a show every month for almost 3 years now. And there's no way that they would have been able to do that many shows, even if they were like on the road all the time.
Right.
So
Yeah. So there's definitely give and take, and for
Yeah.
us on the show here, like it enabled us to have guests that we never would be able to, such as yourself. So
Yeah.
like same sort of thing,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. You take the silver lining every chance you can.
it is, yeah, for sure. Good stuff. They had they had the Mads. I don't know if so. Correct me if I'm wrong. They had a live show. You're talking about them doing tours. They did have a live show that was the Mads. Was it the Mads Are Back?
Yeah, it's funny because I think they decided to call themselves the Mads or something, and it was just because they had gotten asked to do one show, I think in North Carolina or something. It was somewhere around there, and it was like Easter weekend or something, and they got asked to do this, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll do it." And they're like, "Well, what should we call ourselves?" And they're like, "Let's just say the Mads." And someone made a flyer for the show, and
Which I've definitely
poster,
seen. I can picture it's like the two of them in tuxedos or suits or something.
Yeah, I think that Tim Holly did their artwork for those early posters, and he like designed that logo of them in the tuxedos. But someone had just like put on a poster, "The Mads Are Back," and it just like kind of stuck for some reason. And then when their manager had created their Facebook page, he just named it "The Mads Are Back," and it just like kind of stuck. But like they had never actually intended for the show to be called that.
To be called.
But it's like we realized when we were doing the online show, it's like we had to kind of differentiate. We had to like have like an actual name for the show, and I think the early episodes we were just saying like the Mads riff Glen or Glenda, but then it was like we should refer to you guys as the Mads, and then the show as the Mads Are Back, just so that there's like some kind of branding there.
Definitely.
Yeah. Nice. It's true though. That's funny. That's funny how that can just kind of become like a spur of the moment, like whim thing. That ends up actually getting, set in stone later on.
Yeah. I think I remember asking him, I was like, who came up with the name? They're like, we don't know. They're like someone on Facebook just like
somebody who made
flyer.
Some random.
I was wondering if there's no legal issues with like any ownership of the word, the term the Mads.
I think because they make it, and I don't know like if there is any formal arrangement, but we're always making very clear that they're not in character, that they're not Forrester and TV's Frank.
Right.
And the only time we've ever played with that was like we did a Halloween episode and they dressed up like Forrester and Frank. And it was, but that was like, we made it very clear that they were Halloween costumes and no, legally that's never come up. We have thought about it, but it's clearly like not affiliated with Mystery Science Theater 3000. So it's, it's good. It's a gray area, but that's never been an issue.
It's never been an issue.
Luckily.
That's good.
Yeah. You never know with that kind of stuff. I mean,
exactly.
Right. It gets hairy.
Yeah. And like you said, you have thought of it.
Yeah.
Because I've thought of it and I'm like, wow, it surprises me. Maybe that, they own it or they're able to, because I feel like in the show, Joel would say the Mads are calling. So right.
Right. But now I think they refer to like all of them as Mads now. So like, like Pearl's a Mad and Bobo, like they're all considered Mads, I guess.
They're all Mad.
Yeah. So
you're a Mad and you're a Mad and
it's a category of person now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Not just them.
Title.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So like I'm curious how you actually are able to choose, what your next movie is going to be that you'll do for the Mads Are Back. Is it mostly guided by Frank and Trace, or do you have input too? Like, how does that kind of go?
It's kind of all of us. We have a spreadsheet that we keep of like verified public domain movies that we know we'd be able to do. Like, we won't have any issues with YouTube copyright algorithms or anything like that.
Yep.
But like that list is like running thinner and thinner of movies that are, like would be entertaining enough for them to riff it, or don't have anything like that would be just like too weird to have in a show. Like we almost did I can't remember the name. It was a Frankenstein movie. It was like an Italian Frankenstein movie, I think.
Oh, the Flesh for Frankenstein?
I don't know if it was that.
That
If
can't
it-
be. That can't.
Yeah,
be.
I don't think it was that, but it did have like nudity and like it was really violent, and like there were some funny parts to it. But then we ultimately decided it was just like this is kind of weird. Like,
Did one of the
Right.
characters fuck another one of the characters in the gallbladder? Did that happen?
possibly there was
Is
some
that-
really weird.
God
there was-
damn, is that a thing?
Yo, that's Flesh for Frankenstein. Yes.
it
That's
might have-
Udo Kier, though. You
The
know.
gallbladder?
Yeah, it was like Trace was the one who found it, and like he sent it to us, and I watched it, and it was like there were some like definitely like highly riffable moments, and we always like edit down the movies so that they're not super long. It was like a 90-minute movie, and I started cutting things out of it, and then halfway through, I was like, "Do you guys really want to do this movie? Because it's pretty." I was like, "I can cut this stuff out so that it's not."
Right,
Offensive,
not in there.
You know, it's not like too weird for a comedy show. I was like, but then you're left with like very little movie, and it's just confusing. So that was like one. Like we had like Carmen Sarah, the artist who does all of our artwork.
He's
even-
great. He's
He
great,
even
by the way.
made up a poster for that and everything. And then we were just like, yeah, let's not do that one. So
Oh, that's-
So we thought better on it. It just
Yeah.
feels wrong.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
like there's so many public domain movies out there. It's just like you just have to really dig for them. And a lot of fans send us stuff, and we put that on the list, and we always check those movies out. But there's some movies that we could do, but are just like too boring to riff almost. Like there's like a Vincent
Right.
Price movie, The Bat, I think.
oh my god, dude!
Do you think that that's like riffable though? Because like it keeps coming across, and we're like, it's not like super bad, but it's also not super entertaining. It's just like kind of middle
That's
of the
because like
road.
the
I don't
better the
know.
movie is,
I
the
don't
harder it is.
know.
to
Yeah, it may not be the best movie to riff, but I
Yeah.
love The Bat, and I will say this: The Bat. Look, I have a thing about The Bat. Now I have to
Okay.
deliver it. Okay.
Oh,
Nice.
So-
you got
so-
him started.
So first of all, Agnes Moorehead from
Hmm.
Bewitched is the star of that movie, not Vincent Price. He's just the name that they put on the poster so people actually watch it. Agnes Moorehead, that is her movie. She is the main character. That she is from the town next door to me, Clinton, Massachusetts. Just saying. Anyway, she's cool as hell and
Humble
funny.
brag.
And also hey, if you got humble brags, if you got lame claims to fame, you got to shout them.
Yeah,
You got to go on a podcast or maybe start a podcast so you can have a
Just
venue
to shout 'em.
to shout your lame shit.
That's right.
But anyway,
that's right.
so yeah, so anyway, so she's cool. That movie's great. And that is just about the only worthwhile female character to come out of the 50s.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
like just about.
All right.
I mean, because like
that
honestly,
could be
like,
why they don't want to riff it, because
it's entirely
right.
possible that it's
Yeah.
not regarded as a good movie. It just pisses me off that it's not regarded as a good movie. She's a
Right.
great character. She's like a very self-possessed, very well-written, like capable woman, and she doesn't even have a love interest in the movie. She's got a friend, like her assistant is another lady.
Yeah.
And it's just a really great character and a fun
An
old dark
atypical
house,
female role for that era.
yeah. Oh my God. For the 50s, are you kidding me? Like every other girl, like they say in EGA, should come with a handle because, they're getting carried off every 2 seconds or fainting with their dainty little ankles and can't do like these people could not write women at all to save their life.
I know.
But anyway, that's just my little rant real quick. I quite enjoy the
If
bat.
you do the bat now, Steve's gonna be in your comments
You're gonna be so
section
pissed,
blowing up with these facts.
No, I would love it. I would
Blowing
love it. I would love it. I would love it.
But that's the hardest part is like finding the movies that
Right. I
are
bet.
bad enough to actually, and also like they have to be in public domain just because we don't have a budget to license
To get
everything,
licensing,
and
yeah,
that would make the show like something else completely different.
Right.
So,
But is Giant from the Unknown in the public domain?
How do you find out?
That's the other thing is like every year more and more stuff enters the public domain. So we also are able to like, take a look at newer things every now and then. Shorts, educational shorts. There's just
so good.
endless supply.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, those old school, like, just infomercial type thing, educational. Yeah, just who funds these, who makes these, like what are they? They're just like ripe for the picking.
Yeah, I mean, the Internet Archive is an amazing site to find. Just like that's where we find 95% of our shorts, unless someone like send us a link or something. But yeah, like that's also why we just keep doing shorts compilations. One, I mean, people love the shorts; they always respond really well to them. But two, there's just so many of them, and you could also like we did like for this upcoming one, they're doing like one of those more like industrial type shorts that are more for like warehouse workers to watch.
Okay.
Yep. Industry
like
and technology.
Yeah. So we're starting to like, we have to, start doing stuff like that. And we've also for the longest time tried to avoid movies done on Mystery Science Theater like too often, but we're starting to like run out of movies. So that's why like more and more, like we did Teenagers from Outer Space in December, and there's Bride of the Monster we did a few months before that. So.
I had to get that one. I've had a Bride of the Monster poster framed for quite some time.
Oh, nice. It's a great one. Yeah.
It's my favorite Ed Wood for some reason. I think it's like his most cohesive story, even though it's not cohesive, but
I know. Yeah. It's cohesive within itself. You can like, if you accept the logic of an Ed Wood movie, it kind of makes sense.
It makes enough sense.
Yeah. And that's the one that 8-Bit and I just watched again over the weekend.
Nice.
Ready for this. Yeah.
Awesome.
Have you guys done Attack of the Giant Leeches?
No, we have that.
That's public domain.
I know it is, but I feel like when we tried to run it through YouTube, it got flagged as being owned by some. That's becoming more and more of an issue, actually, because there's now these like companies that claim to like get the rights back to your content to make sure like people aren't stealing your stuff. But like what it really is movie licensors trying to like claim that they own a movie like Dimension 5 or something.
Oh, right.
And so they'll claim ownership of it. And then YouTube doesn't even really like, they don't look into it. They're not like, no, this is public domain. How can you claim it? They're just like, accept it.
Right. So they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Sure. So then we got to do our show and suddenly it's like getting flagged as being copyrighted content. And it's, it's not.
Right.
That's frustrating.
There's not much you can do with YouTube about that. They're really, really strict about copyright stuff.
Interesting. Those jerks. Don't they know you got a show to put on? Come on.
I know.
Come on.
That's why we've been doing a show. We've had to do a few shows on Vimeo lately just because of copyright reasons like that.
See, I was wondering why sometimes you used one platform over the other.
Yeah.
There's
interesting.
a trailer for Darkstar was on Vimeo, right? Was that where you did
that?
Well,
because we've always used Vimeo to host our videos. So it just kind of like it was very easy to upgrade to like their live streaming platform.
There was a recent one where it was a different. I felt like it was different than usual. Was it Night of the Ghouls? Was Night of the Ghouls like a different?
Maybe Dimension 5. I know we did on Vimeo. Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah, Night of the Ghouls. I think we were using the Q&A. I can't remember. All these shows start to blend together after
I'm sure. Well, you've done a lot in a short amount of time, so that's pretty cool. Well, it's interesting. I'm just scrolling down this list of movies and getting in your headspace a little bit. I don't know if it's on here or not or whatever, but do you know the there was like a really creepy Alice in Wonderland like with puppets from like the 40s or something. Do you know what I'm talking about? That would be amazing.
I think someone sent that to us.
Oh my God. It's just horrifying. It's not even supposed to be. It's like supposed to be cute for like kids.
I will look into that. It's like a full-length movie?
Yes, it's a full-length movie and it's all puppets and the puppets are absolutely terrifying. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, I'll check it out. Anyway. I mean, that's the thing. It's like we're always still finding stuff,
right?
And now, like just the more people who are watching the shows, the more suggestions we get and everything. So it's just we're really lucky that.
Oh, surely you've considered White Zombie. White Zombie's in the public domain.
Yeah, I think that's
Wow.
another one that might have been like not
Flagged on
bad
YouTube.
enough.
Oh no!
Oh,
Really?
maybe.
It's like this weird classic, I
Mhm.
guess, but it's terrible. It's absolutely
Isn't that-
and I
oh, it is.
I am like the Lugosi guy too. I have a
Is that the movie that's like the first
love for
instance of the word zombie, or am I thinking of something
no.
else?
I think you
It
are
is,
right. I
right?
think that may I know it holds some distinction like that,
Yeah.
but it's very weird and not very good. But Lugosi looks real good, and he's got the eyes. They love showing you those close-ups of his eyes. It's like, wow, yeah, he has eyes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Like if Lugosi's in it, it might be worth doing it just for that. Like that's
Exactly.
why we did
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Devil Bat, because it was just like, well, it's got Bela Lugosi. Like it's
I
fun.
didn't see that episode of yours, but I gotta. Is that one that can still be purchased online?
Yeah,
because that's
yeah.
the other thing. People
Yeah.
should know that you guys, it's live every month, but if you go on Dumb Industries, it's dumb-industries.com. If you go on there, you can purchase all these old episodes.
Yeah, we started putting we used to wait about a
awesome.
year to put them on demand.
Okay.
But then back in the fall, we were like, let's just start selling them right away.
Yeah.
Because we were like
Right.
always worried, like, oh, well, if we just sell them right away, then people are going to stop buying tickets to
People are gonna
shows.
stop buying tickets, right?
But they didn't. Like people just like kept buying the tickets. So we're like, all right, let's just put them on sale. Like when we send out the download to everyone, we'll just and then people who missed it are able to get it right away. So
That's what's happened.
Yeah.
That's what we've done. There'll be certain, not that I've seen every episode that you've ever done, but there will be certain ones that I really wanted to see, like Darkstar, which I want to definitely talk about in a little bit. But it's just like, couldn't check it out that night or something. So it's been nice being able to do that.
Yeah.
But I got to see the Devil Bat. I am familiar with the movie. It is. So Tim, so Bela Lugosi, he needs to get revenge on everybody, and he has this pet bat that's like 3 feet tall that he just keeps in a room in his basement, and he like goes downstairs and he's like and he's like just looks at the Devil Bat and he just sends it out to kill people. I don't know
it
how
just
it
does his bidding.
It just works,
and
he's
it
like,
makes this ridiculous noise every time, and it's hilarious every single time.
Oh my god, that's
super
awesome.
bad.
And it's one of the older movies that we've done too. I want to say that movie is like in the 40s.
It's 40s,
yeah.
Definitely.
It's one of the earlier ones. Most of the movies they do are 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
They don't like to do anything really. We've never done anything later than 77, I think.
Okay.
They just feel like it's not, like, I don't know. I guess there's something about 80s and on that they feel more old timey, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is,
awesome.
as much as I love really old stuff like 30s or whatever, a lot of it, the transfers you find nowadays,
Mhm.
you're kind of, you got to pay attention to the sound. Like the sound isn't always the best.
Right.
So I would imagine in this sort of a venue, we're paying attention to them, but we don't want to not be able to hear the movie because we need to get the joke.
Right.
So that, I'm sure is
there have been some like Night of the Ghouls, the Ed Wood movie that we just did, had really horrible sound. I had to do some processing on it, and it still sounds like terrible. But there was just this persistent hum throughout it, and I was like, there's got to be a copy on the internet somewhere. It doesn't have that.
See, that's another reason why I like Bride of the Monster, because Bride of the Monster actually, like, the production is pretty good. The print that's out there. I mean, even Plan 9, most of the prints are rough, like sound wise, to get through. But
Bride of the Monster looks good. The one that we used for that was nice.
So just back to the process, like how do you guys write the stuff? Because clearly, I think when I was talking about you guys to somebody this weekend, somebody was like, oh, do they do it? Do they watch the movie and just riff off the top of their head? And I said, no, I know they don't do that. You guys write stuff just like back in the day. With Mystery Science Theater. So how does that work?
So we usually pick the movie. We try to pick the movie at least a month in advance, because we always like to kind of announce what it is at the end of a show. That doesn't always happen, and sometimes we run into issues with copyright type of stuff. But usually we'll find a movie, they like to have at least like 2 weeks to work on it. And you know, I will usually like edit the movie down. If it's like a 90-minute movie, we try to get it down to like 75 minutes. We find that that's like the spot where people start to get too bored of even like a terrible, you know, like even if like the show's really funny, it's like
it's just like
it's
a little too much.
Yeah, it's like testing patience a little bit. At least, you know, for our format, I feel like it just works better when it's a little bit shorter. So if that's the case, I will have to go and like re-edit the movie to get, you know, I'll take scenes out. Sometimes like I'll like to make the plot stay intact, I'll have to like reconfigure things, and which is ridiculous because I'm doing this all for like these really terrible movies that like should not be edited, you know, to be made better.
Like sneering down your nose, going like, "You don't deserve this. You don't deserve me.
I'm polishing a turd. Why am I doing this?"
But yeah, that's the thing is like every time, when people watch the edit, usually they never even notice that anything's missing. There's been like 1 or 2 times where it's like inevitable. It's like, yeah, they're gonna realize something was cut there, which isn't always like, you know, that jarring because like a lot of older movies would just like really,
they are a little all over the place.
Exactly.
Yeah, or like they just like abruptly end or whatever. But yeah, like, you know, I think that takes some time. That takes, you know, at least a week to like get that done. Then I send it to Trace and Frank, and then I don't know what their writing process is. All I know is that they have like 2 weeks to sit with it. We always do a first run through the Friday before a show. And that's like the first time we'll record that. And that's like the first time that I hear them do any jokes at all. And like that one's fun because I'm hearing them do it for the first time, but it's also like really messy because they're kind of just talking over each other a lot and just trying to like figure out what works, what doesn't. So eventually they'll, you know, we do that. We do the tech rehearsal. We do the full run through. I don't give them like any notes or anything. I just tell them like which my favorite riffs were, whatever. And then we have a dress rehearsal the Monday night before the show. And that's when they've kind of like worked out more and more of what jokes are staying in or not. And they'll try out new stuff. And then by show night, it's like, it's amazing to watch the progression that the two of them have with each other between the first run through and show night. Cause like they just develop this rhythm that like, it's like once they fall into a groove on that, like on the actual live mix, it's their third time riffing it, but they've also watched the movie a bajillion times. So they're like, now they like really know it. And they just work off each other so well. And if there's like long stretches where there's no dialogue, they figure out the rhythm of like who's like, they kind of go back and forth with their riffs and stuff. And but that's all them. Like they do all the writing themselves. They've never wanted to have any kind of outside help. You know, like people have offered it, people have suggested like, hey, like if you ever need to crank more riffs out, like we could, you know, but they're just really happy doing one new show a month. And the fact that they're able to just like write a new show every month and it's still, you know, absolutely hilarious every month. It's kind of remarkable, like just how prolific they've been really the past few years. I think when they toured live, they only had like 7 or 8 movies or something. And now they have like 30 something. So it's they put in a lot of work.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. So it's very interesting to know because it seems like the magic is a secret even to you. On your own damn show. I
mean, it's, you know, they don't need my help in that department. So I've always my idea is always just like, well, that they've got that covered. Like they don't know social media for shit, but I got that covered. So it's like, you know, it's always been,
there you go. It's
very
great.
much. And Frank always books the guests because he's just got an amazing phone.
I was curious about that. Yeah, how you pick your guests and stuff. So Frank usually pulls someone in.
It's usually he just like texts a friend like a few days before, and they're like,
right.
It's very informal. It's never. And we found early on, if you try to reach out to someone and they're really busy, like a Patton Oswalt type, like, you know, like he has said to Frank, like, I would really love to do it. He's like, but I can't. And like, Frank doesn't want to keep asking him. So it's just kind of like,
you
just move on. But like, they just have so many, you know, legitimate, like really good friends in comedy that they're able to just have them come by. And and like, you know, Jonah Ray is always down to hang out with them. Like he shows up to the live stream sometimes and just like hangs out in the chat.
Oh,
like,
that's
that's super cool. Yeah, just a cool dude.
Of theirs.
Now what I want to know is, does Jonah Ray own a shirt that says "I'm not Chris Gersbeck"?
He does. I sent him one.
Yes, that's fantastic.
I haven't seen him wear it at all, but he did receive it. Yes. It's the only one too.
For those just listening and don't know what you look like Jonah Ray a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit more than there's a passing resemblance.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm hoping I sent them with that t-shirt with the idea that like, hopefully sometime I'll be like out on the West Coast the same time as he, and we could like very quickly just meet up and take a picture real quick.
With the two shirts.
Yeah.
I always have the shirt in my backpack just in case. Just in case I run into
I need to carry it around.
Are you also a towering inferno of a man like
no, that's the other. He's like over 6 feet, right?
He is. I think he's like 6'5" or something.
Yeah.
He's crazy tall.
No, I'm 5'9". He'd tower over me, I'm sure.
Yeah. So you need an arrow, an up and down arrow.
Yeah.
So Chris, this is so fun talking to you, and you know, we'd love to have you back on some other time if you're willing to come back on. But I definitely want to make sure before we run out of time, I want to talk about Darkstar.
Yeah.
Because that was your big event that you guys just did. So I'll just open it up. So 8-Bit, you want to run down a little bit of what Darkstar is? And then
so yeah, I mean, I am relatively new to understanding what Darkstar is, but
same.
Darkstar, the interactive
girl, same
girl. Darkstar, the interactive movie, was a video game of sorts that was done by a large number of the MST3K, you know, crew and cast, alumni basically, and it came out in 2010, and it was like a fully motion. What's the word? Like full motion video game. So you're just getting all of this actual filmed, you know, footage, just like you would have like back on the Sega CD or something like that. And that has since been turned into a movie, just as in with no interaction necessary. You can just watch it, and then it's been turned back into an interactive process through the Madzerback, because now it's like what was once interactive is now interactive in a different way. But yeah, you guys did like a incredible job tackling this. I can't wait to watch this myself. I'm having a feeling, I'm having a premonition that Steve and I are going to be watching this together in the next.
I think so. Yeah. I missed it. Yeah, we missed it. We really wanted to see it this weekend before
I'll send it to you guys.
But
it's gonna actually release tomorrow at noon, but I'll send you guys the codes. You can watch it.
Oh, amazing!
No way.
But yeah, it's you did a good job kind of teeing it up. Yeah, so this movie is basically it's an hour and 44 minutes of cutscenes from a video game, and you think like, oh, like it's
like this is a YouTube thing, like when you're like, oh, Metal Gear Solid, but only the cutscenes. Like,
yeah, exactly. But because it was all, you know, it was all actors on set, like they were all standing in front of a green screen. It plays out like a movie, but everything else is digitized. Like there were like no props or like sets or anything. But so like, you know, the pacing is just like off. Like it just doesn't feel like any kind of normal movie. So the riff itself is mostly, and like, there's something that happens pretty early on that kind of like sets the tone for the entire thing. I don't want to spoil it because it's amazing, but the pacing, it just, you feel like you're watching, you know, with their commentary over it. It's more about them remembering filming this stuff like 20 years ago.
That's great.
Sounds
But
awesome.
when they're also like cracking jokes on each other and themselves, like left and right. And it's the first time, as far as like we can tell, it's the first time that anyone's in the Mystery Science Theater world has like riffed on themselves.
Right.
And
Right. Reception.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Reception.
And it's, you know, it's so it's interesting just in that they finally have a piece of media that is worthy of being riffed on. Like now they're the subjects, you know,
Right.
where
That's awesome.
So it's fun just for that, because like they're cracking jokes on them. It's like, they you know, they can crack jokes, but they also take them just as well. And that's why they're so amazing at what they do. And they're not like mean spirited at all. It's all done with like love. And we had the creator of Darkstar, J. Allen Williams, did the Q&A, and he was responsible for setting this whole thing up. Like he reached out to us and had this idea like, hey, I'm putting a new version of this game out, and I thought maybe it'd be fun if you guys riffed on it. And Trace was like, yeah, it might be cool. Like, and Trace was like, just, can you reach out to him and just like get on a call with him and see if you think this would be good? And I watched it and I was like, it's not good for like a Mads. Like we didn't want to do it as a Mads event because it just doesn't fit their style at all. And also like, they didn't want to have to write, you know, for an hour and 44-minute movie that they're also in. So,
okay. So that's why it was like a different sort of bonus episode.
Exactly. Yeah. We didn't want it to be a Mads event. And then it was also like, you know, they're all still friends with Mary Jo and Bees and J. Elvis Weinstein. And I work with Mary Jo and Bees and, you know, all those people before. So it was kind of just like, let's just invite our friends to, we'll just like record. We'll just put it on. This will be the first time you guys are watching it ever. And we'll just record it. And it's like, we were like, you guys don't have to riff. Like, don't feel like you have to be like riffing every 5 seconds. Like, think of it as a commentary track, but like go nuts, like with whatever else.
Yeah.
So it's a good blend of them telling stories about that time, and also just like they're just on fire with their riffs. So
my God. So great. that's another humongous first. Not only are they for the first time riffing on something that they're in, but they're also riffing. It's the first time that they're riffing while seeing something for the first time.
I know.
Like,
I know. You know, there's like a lot of layers to it.
Yeah, they're just ad-libbing. They're just commentary tracking it.
Yeah, but it's proof
that is
that
also fascinating.
Yeah, it's proof that they're just I mean, you already know that they're all like just absolutely really quick-witted, funny people,
masters of
smart.
Improv, you know.
Yeah, they're just amazing at that. But then, you know, how often do you really get to see them do that in real time when it's not even scripted?
Never,
like,
not once.
And like that's what this is all completely improvised, but they're all just like rattling joke after joke off of this.
Oh my God, amazing.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's probably the funniest like thing that I have had to work on, and I know that because like in editing it I had to just like keep stopping, rewinding it. I was like, I can't believe how funny this is.
It's amazing.
And then the Q&A, the live Q&A is a whole other thing that was also amazing. We did that live on Friday night. So that's a bonus feature on the download that's coming out tomorrow.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's really
nice.
I'm excited about it. I hope this kind of opens up the world of Dumb Industries to a few more people, because it's really just, it was such a blast to work on and to do. I can't wait for like everyone to see it. So this
just sort of makes me think like I would love a physical copy of this.
Yeah.
Is that something that you have that you've considered? Like
we have, I mean, yes, we would love to do a physical release. So we are looking into that, and not just with Darkstar, with hopefully other Mad stuff.
Right.
But it's, you know, that's a whole, it's really just, you know, it's me, Trace, and Frank, and my buddy Matt helps out with the live streams a lot, but it's really just like the three of us like doing the show every month. So it's hard to like, to like fathom like, oh, now we have to like start shipping DVDs out. So we're like,
Yeah,
we got to like figure out a way to like outsource it where it's not
Mhm.
like, you know, we'll make enough money where it's worth doing, but it's not, we don't have
a whole bunch
boxes and
more work for
boxes.
you guys. To,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like all of Dumb Industries merchandise is all just on demand. And it's like,
Mhm.
I think, you know, just as a creator, like the best decision you can make because you just don't have to deal with any of it.
With
and it's
boxes filling up
Oh,
your house of like,
definitely.
God, I have so many T-shirts that are
Yeah.
extra small. Why did I bother to buy these?
like, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And we do a lot of that same stuff too. It's great. You know, it's great
Mhm.
having a t-shirt shop with no overhead.
And you
But
don't
you make-
ever have to do anything. I know. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
All right. It's great. But well, you know, that's really, really fun. And it's interesting that, you know, I had no idea, but it's interesting to see. This is why it's great to have people on and you get all the stories that this was not even your idea. This was J. Allen
No.
Williams.
Yes,
he
it
just
was
reached out, and
It's
that's
all
just
Jeff. Yeah. And I had no idea who I knew about Darkstar. Like I'd heard about it. I'd never seen anything from it other than like pictures on the internet. And like, you know, I just read about it a little bit, but I met up with him and he was just like the first meeting I had with him. He's like, well, it's all right. So look, this is the deal. The movie's a piece of shit. He's like, I don't care. He's like, I want you guys to take it and just like eviscerate it. Just like do whatever you want with it. He's like,
I love this guy.
I don't want to have any say in what you do. He's like, my hands are off. He's like, you know,
Awesome.
He had me sign an agreement that was just like, you have permission to do whatever the hell you want with this and sell it like however you want. Because he's readying his own release of it, a Blu-ray copy, and the Mads. Actually, so there definitely is going to be a physical release because he's putting out his own version of this new edit of Darkstar, and one of the bonus features is going to be the Rift version of it.
Oh my god, that's
cool.
that's an
So
right there.
his will likely be out. We don't have any kind of deal in place yet, but his version will likely be out like relatively soon if you want to get the Blu-ray of it.
I mean, I absolutely want to get the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's actually really hard to find information on this movie online. There's not like even a trailer seemingly on the tubes of you. There's nothing because you look up Darkstar and you get the John Carpenter movie.
Yeah.
Or
even
like
though Grateful Dead cover band or something. Yeah.
Right. So it's like there's just even, and I was putting in like Darkstar the motion picture 2013 and it's like nope. We know you mean the 74 John Carpenter movie, which is Darkstar with 2 words, not 1 word. We know that's what you meant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, you're wrong. You're wrong, that's Google.
The thing though, they started production on Darkstar in like 2001 or something, and it didn't come out till like 2010.
Yeah.
So it's also like really hard to identify if you're searching for it. Like what year is
what
this?
year?
Yeah, right.
Well, it seemed like the motion picture that he cobbled together and put out as a movie was 13.
13, yeah. Apparently, this is a different version. This is like an all new version. Yeah.
Oh my god.
That one, I think, was that one in color? Like, did you watch it or have you?
I've never seen it. It was very hard to find anything. I found some stuff on Jeff's own Vimeo. Like channel,
right.
He had a couple of trailers, and they were black and white. So was yours in color?
It's in black and white. Yeah.
Oh,
he
black and white,
yeah, and he explains that during the Q&A because Darkstar was shot. It was not shot on like HD cameras or like any kind of technology that would have survived like the transition to HD. So when he was putting the Blu-ray together, it's like all this like really kind of shitty looking footage, but he was able to like remaster certain aspects of like the backgrounds so that those are HD. But then he also like put this weird black and white filter over everything to make it look more like an old timey kind of sci-fi movie.
Yeah, there was like some distress,
right? And they riff on that like the entire time because it looks pretty stupid.
It
looks pretty dumb. It looks pretty dumb.
But that's what's great is that like they had nothing to do with the production of this, so it's like they're 1 degree removed where it doesn't feel like a Sharknado type of thing. Like, we intentionally made this bad.
Oh,
and now we're gonna
right,
make
Right,
fun of it.
right.
You
They're
know?
like, we were just in this.
Yeah,
We didn't make
yeah.
this.
and clearly this man did not intend this to be bad, right? Like,
No,
he's
and,
sort of
you
come
know,
to terms with that.
and
clearly.
and they do bring this up quite a bit. It's like the design and everything it's really pretty amazing, and it was very revolutionary what he was doing at the time, you know, in 2000. Like, the idea of basically like choose your own adventure but with actual footage of movie was like a really good idea. It just
I read online there was
novel
13, what was it, like 1,300 or 13,000? I don't know what's the number there. There was some insane amount of footage that supposedly
it was 13 hours of footage. So
13 hours. I was like,
at the time, that was like, it might even still be, I don't really know, but like it might still be a lot
must
of,
be like, pretty unheard of.
But I had this game in the late 90s, just real quick, that was called Ripper, and it starred Christopher Walken, and it did not look leaps and bounds better than the footage I saw of Darkstar. That was kind of just how games look. So if he started it in 2001, maybe by 2010 that looked really dated, but you know, maybe for 98, 90, 97, 98, 96, you know, that's not far impressive. From 2001. It was kind of how things looked back then. That I distinctly remember.
No, and that's the thing is like, you know, if you were to just take this at face value and say like, oh, this is just like a pretty shitty low budget sci-fi, but
it was a game.
No, it was a game. Yeah, you can like cut totally it. Some, it's like it's clearly scenes from a video game. So like you can cut it some slack there.
Yeah, right. I mean, if you cobbled together all the footage of Tia Carrere from the Daedalus encounter, I'm sure it wouldn't be much better looking than Darkstar. That's a deep cut, folks.
I've never seen that. What is that?
Oh, that's a game. The Daedalus encounter, starring Tia Carrere. Yes.
Wait, was this an arcade game?
No, this was a PC game. Same idea. Same exact idea. Bunch of Tim said it, the full motion video. That was totally what every box said.
Yeah.
It's an FMV point and click with puzzles, and you just get to the next movie clip.
It was so big then. Like
it really was.
Watching moving video on a computer screen.
It was a thing. Like they were generating
Sega CD and like the 3DO systems were definitely trying to push that as like the future of what you could do with graphics is full motion. Like what's better graphics than real life? And you know, it's kind of funny because now it's like, but it's like also the aspect ratio of a postage stamp, and it runs at 20 frames per second. So I feel like we could do better, you know. But it's pretty amazing. I mean, I am definitely a big fan of playing video games and stuff like that, and I would love to be able to track down to play Darkstar, but like it's not available anywhere.
I know.
I would love to compare, you know, and just see like how they cut it together and stuff, but like I straight up just cannot find it.
And from what Jeff said, like even if you had a physical copy of it, well, you got to find a computer that will like, you know, that has like a disc,
you need like a Windows,
which
you know,
is harder to find. You need. He said
XP.
I think like 5 years ago, he said that he was able to get it to run on a Mac booted up with Boot Camp, but but it like didn't play like well or anything. And I don't think that the game ever played well. Like I think it was always like
right. Like it's
really frustrating. Yeah.
I found a thread on Good Old Games that somebody had reached out to someone who was part of the process in making Darkstar. So I don't know if it is J. Allen Williams, right?
And probably he apparently did like most of everything for Darkstar, like directing. He wrote it, the animation he did, like it's amazing.
It's unheard of, you know, and it's impressive. But I would love to see it, you know, find a new home on Good Old Games or Steam or something like that, so that people could check that stuff out. I mean, you'd be surprised. You can get the what was that old computer game with David Bowie in it? I don't know. That's like on Bowie? Steam. Yeah. This is Bowie to Bowie.
This is David Bowie from 1985's Labyrinth.
It's called Omicron, the Nomad Soul.
Was that like in the 90s?
Yeah, so it's from 99.
It's that weird time period where they're trying to like put musicians in video games. Like, wasn't there like an Aerosmith game with like a gun? Like,
Oh, that was in the
X.
arcades. That was
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Revolution
shot
X,
like vinyls.
yeah.
They
Yeah.
did all kinds of crazy stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm like, these games they are on Steam, so it would be really great to see
Yeah.
Darkstar.
Yeah.
in its
And Darkstar is
entirety.
basically like Myst. Like, it's the same kind of
right.
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
So,
Point and click.
if there was enough of the demand, I don't think enough people really know about it for it to be.
Well, that's the thing. I've
Yeah.
never like. Okay, so we on the show on Retro Octopus, we cover retro games a lot. We are pretty damn knowledgeable,
Yeah.
and none of us had ever heard of this. And
Yeah.
we are huge Mystery Science Theater fans.
I know.
So,
That's
a lot
the
of
weirder thing is that we hadn't heard about it
I've
from
never even
that
heard of
angle.
this.
You know,
I know
Yeah,
a lot of
really,
people
really
said
crazy.
that he never knew that it was even a thing
Yeah.
when we announced
So-
it. So yeah, it's pretty obscure.
I'm super
pretty cool.
excited to watch it. I can't wait. To be honest,
I can't wait. Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
wait. Chris, thank you so much for coming on. Before you get out of here, we like to swing things back to retro. We don't have that much time. I'll just ask you this: what's your favorite, or maybe if you can narrow it down to 1, 2, 3 classic episodes of Mystery Science Theater? Like if you're gonna pop one in to like tonight, like give me your top 3.
Laser Blast is always
yeah.
the go-to for me. I don't know that. I think that episode kind of airs in like that weird era where Trace was still on, but Frank wasn't. I think Frank had already left.
Yes.
And it's like there's only like 6 episodes in that season or something, and that's one of them. And it's like so. I just love that one. I've
so
watched,
memorable.
yeah, and I've watched that movie like unriffed randomly before I'd actually seen the Mystery Science Theater episode. So like, it was kind of like, oh my god, this horrible movie that I just randomly watched. It's like now I get to see. It was like such a gift. It was like, oh, Mystery Science Theater did this too, and I had no idea. You know. Like when you in the 90s, if you missed an episode of Mystery Science Theater, it's like you just never saw it again.
Yeah,
unless it reran.
Gone.
So like when things started showing up when they started putting like episodes on Netflix and stuff, like that's really when I started really getting. I was like, oh, like I can finally watch all these episodes I just never saw.
Yeah.
So Laser Blast definitely. Time of the Apes is always like pretty high up there for me. I think that might have been like the first episode I
don't know that
seen.
one.
I've never seen that one.
Oh, that's a great one. I think they did it in the KTMA season 2, which I've never seen that, but it's like season 3 or season 4, and it's Time of the Apes is a Planet of the Apes ripoff. That I believe it's a Japanese movie, but they took this like what it was going to be a kind of like Planet of the Apes TV series for kids. Like there was going to be like kids with ape people, like talking apes, and they took this series and like edited it into a full length movie, and like that's what they're riffing on. And it is so goddamn terrible.
I am finding that it is available in entirety on YouTube. So
yeah,
that's any official avenue we can watch.
That's definitely a top tier one. And then I don't know, Mitchell's always like a great go-to.
Good.
I feel like if I'm gonna tell a friend, like if they wanted to watch one episode just to like get a kind of like an idea of it, I think Mitchell's a good sort of entry point.
I think Mitchell may be their best overall episode.
Yeah.
I think it's my second favorite just because I love Pod People way too much, but I think I'll go Ega for number 3. That's just another close to my heart
one, yeah.
And I got to see that live with Jonah.
Oh, really?
That was something. That was really cool.
Wait, did they do Ega for? Oh no, they did that was like the Watch Out for Snakes tour.
Yes, that was that. Yep.
I didn't know if they did that on the Netflix season or not.
No, they didn't. They did the Netflix season, and then they were like, "Oh, we're doing a live show."
Yeah,
and it's MF and Ega. I'm like, "Oh my god, I have to this has to happen."
Yeah, that's something like I still have never seen Trace and Frank live in person. like I met them in person, but like I've never seen them perform as the Mads at like a show. Frank would always like whenever they would do like the Brooklyn Alamo Draft House. They do like a show there, and then I think they do I think there's a Draft House in Yonkers now, so they would kind of do like a weekend in New York. But it was just like every time Frank was doing it, and he's like, "You should come." I was like, "I can't." I used to work Fridays and Saturday nights, so it's just like impossible for me to ever see them. But that's something like I can't wait to experience that. Like getting to laugh with other people at them, and not just like in my room to myself. You know?
Well, I think that's what's so cool about what you're doing, because any creator project has to be passionate for it to come off.
Oh yeah.
And you're a fan, so that.
Yeah. And that's Trace and Frank have always worked with fans. Like all the people that have done their art, they were just people that sent in art that they ended up hiring. And like Carmen Serra, he like emailed me a doodle during one of the shows of the movie that we were watching, and it was just so amazing. I put it on screen, and we were like, let's just see if you can do posters for us. And their manager started out as a fan. I know Carolina Hidalgo produced their podcast for them, started as a fan. I mean, those are the people that they want to be surrounded with. That's like they survive because of how amazing their fans are. So they're just like, all they want to do is like just help their fans, help them if they can. It's
very cool.
It's worth it for everyone. Like everyone wins.
Hell yeah. 8-Bit, you got anything else for Chris before we get out of here?
Honestly, just thank you. And this has been a lot of fun getting to kind of chat and just laugh and enjoy the things that you do and see how much you enjoy what you do. And it's just it's infectious. It's great. We really honestly can't wait to watch Darkstar. And
you guys are gonna lose your minds. I'm telling you, I can't prepare you enough for how funny it is.
I'm so keyed up right now.
I know. I'm so freaking ready. I'm like hovering over the buy button right now. I'm just like
no, I'll send you the link. Don't pay for it.
Thanks, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, you guys are great. This was really fun. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So killer. Yeah, well, welcome back anytime. If there's anything you got coming up or you want to promo, now's the time to do it.
Just the Mads are back. A Night of Shorts 11 is on Tuesday, April 11th at 8 p.m. And then the Mary Jo Pehl shows every fourth Tuesday of the month. And we're doing we do these movie Joe nights thing where we just find like a old made for TV movie or special or something and just watch it completely improvised. And we're doing I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this weird 70s variety show special, Legends of the Superheroes.
Oh yeah.
I have not.
Yeah, the Crypt Keeper's in that.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the voice of the Crypt Keeper.
John Kassir.
Kassir, yeah, he's I think he's the Atom.
Oh, weird. Yeah, it's got like that, like Adam West and Burt Mortar in it as Batman and Robin.
Are they? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and like Ed McMahon is in it. I've never seen it. But
this is the David Ogden Stiers as Martian Manhunter one, right?
No, I know what you're thinking of, the Justice League HBO.
Oh, okay.
Thing,
okay.
Which is another amazing piece of,
So John Kassir's in that.
Oh, he's in that. Okay, that makes more sense. This one's like in the 70s. It's like shot like a Brady Bunch variety hour type of thing,
weird.
But it's with superheroes. So
this looks super weird.
Mary Jo and I are gonna watch that on Tuesday, April 18th.
Nice.
Well, next time maybe we can get to talk about Mary Jo Pehl show. I definitely intended to, but I would love to check that out. That's really fun. I've only seen the Mads are back, and you guys got so much going on. You guys have like
it's
4 or 5 different shows going on at all times.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff to check out.
Very cool. Cool stuff. So Retroids in the listening audience, please, if you guys are fans of Mystery Science Theater especially, or you just like good comedy, please go to dumb-industries.com and check out some live streams from our boy Chris here and the Mads themselves and Mary Jo Pehl and And you're also doing live art lessons with Jackie Neiman Jones, the little girl.
Oh, we didn't
Nanos.
talk about that. Yeah.
I
She
know.
just painted Mothra. Like, that's so
Yeah.
cool.
I just can't even believe it. It's like the funniest, weirdest thing. And every time you're like, you do a live stream and I'm there, like you're like, oh, Jackie Neiman Jones is hanging out with us. I'm like, this is the weirdest thing. I love it.
She's
Yeah.
always on call. Like,
She's
Yeah.
the great.
hanging out.
She's just a huge fan. Like she just loves, anything related to anything
It's the best.
Mystery Science Theater fan. Like she's there.
So
And
down.
I just super quick story. So I do conventions sometimes as an author, and I went down to a couple of years. It was actually, before pandemic. I went down to Florida and I did Spooky Empire is down there, and there was a guy who shows up in the full Manos robes, and I couldn't get over it. And dude, he bought it from Jackie Neiman Jones.
Yeah.
She's like,
She makes them. Right?
She
I
custom
know.
designs them. Yeah.
but I
Like, makes
physically
many
saw
color
a person in the wild.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's so cool.
Like, he's like, oh yeah, I bought it for Jackie Neiman Jones, the little girl from Manos. She makes them. They're $300. I'm like, oh my god.
She's made something. I think she's up to like 50 something, but she
Wow.
it's a lot of work for her.
They're huge.
And she has to they're custom made, and sized and everything.
Yeah. Oh man, that's.
But yeah,
so cool.
people show up at conventions with those a lot. Like they're becoming more and more common, and it's like they're all coming from her.
Right. Yeah. Like she's the single source. Of these.
Yeah.
The
Like if
Manos
you
robe.
see them, they're like probably from her.
Oh my god, it's the funniest
Really
thing
cool.
ever.
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, so check out dumb-industries.com. My personal opinion, as a lifetime mystery, the stuff Chris is doing over there is just the best current callback to an awesome show that we all love. And straight up, I know, I'm just doing an ad for you now, but it's very cheap. It's like $10.
That's yes. We always
And
that's
like
really
so
important to
affordable.
us. Yeah.
It's very cheap. It's a Tuesday night. You got nothing going on. What do you do on Tuesdays anyway?
Exactly. That's
It's
why we
awesome.
pick Tuesdays. There's just too much competition on the weekends.
Yeah.
For real. It's for a live stream. It's just most people are home on Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Our
it's
show
like-
actually comes out on Tuesday. We have a Tentacle Tuesday.
Nice.
See, we're back to the octopus shit.
Tuesdays
But,
need more shit.
Anyway, so that's it for this episode of the Retro Reductibus Cephalic podcast. We will let you out of the brig down there. So I hope you didn't.
Thank God.
I hope your
I
like that
your
door.
feet are okay.
I only pissed
Uh,
myself 3 times.
3
I hope
times.
that's okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
no, that's actually
Is that
that's
normal?
actually pretty
Is that
good.
that's good? Okay, good.
That's actually not bad.
that's pretty good. Yeah,
It adds to the
Um,
patine for the next guest.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
got a cease in the chamber.
Awesome stuff. So guys, if you haven't jumped ship by now, we certainly hope you've enjoyed this week's journey over the treacherous waters of all the things that made growing up awesome. If you like what you've heard, please hit that little subscribe button and like us on Facebook and Twitter. We are part of the Inebriard Podcast Network. We are part of the Dorkening Podcast Network, and we want you to check out some of our fabulous brother and sister shows like Epic Tales from the Sewers, Weekly Warp Pipe with Russ Lyman, and Wicked Horror Show, Shark Bites. I mean, there's a lot of shows on the network. It's a good time. It's plenty of stuff to wet that palate if it needs wetting. If your palate is dry,
Wet
just
that
go.
whistle.
Dry palates
Yes.
are our
Yeah.
enemy.
Yeah,
Yes.
like Chris Gersbeck is. I know he's going to go to the dorkeningnetwork.com and he's going to.
I'm already there.
I mean, he's
Already
there.
there.
He's going to be listening to all the shows.
I'm listening to them all right at the same time right now.
Yeah.
Simultaneously.
I don't. It's a talent.
It's just a symphony
talent.
of noise in my headphones right now, but it's good. I like it.
Good stuff. I have been your host. My name is Parasite Steve, and I will see you guys next week. It has certainly been a journey.
Yeah.
It's certainly been a journey.
Thanks, guys.
You guys have yourself a good night.
Thanks, guys.
Retro.